Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back to another episode of What's in a Performance, the series where I take scores, performances, videos, recordings, you name it, break them down, analyze them, pull them apart to see what goes on a little bit behind the scenes, both technically and musically. Now today we're going to be reviewing Liebesleid, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, or Love Sorrow, written by Fritz Kreisler, arranged for piano by Rachmaninoff, performed by Tiffany Poon. Tiffany Poon's an incredible pianist and this arrangement is really beautiful. I'm sure a lot of you know this from Your Lie in April, but yeah, it's definitely very beautiful, very delicate, and it's made more interesting by the fact that the original was written for piano and violin. And so playing the piano arrangement becomes a little bit of like this tension between how do we voice and carry those melodic elements in a manner that the violin would, but also how do we add like more of the piano things to it with the different voicings and the intricacies that the violin can't necessarily bring out. And so how all these things come together is very interesting and makes for a very beautiful piece. And so with that being said, Tiffany Poon playing Love Sorrow, let's get it. All right, it's time to listen to Tiffany Poon. Ooh, she starts. Ooh. Oh, that rubato, right? Okay, this is very Chopin-esque with the right hand dragging behind the left. See that big pull? And then like. Okay, we can't see her hands because the shots keep changing, but that's okay. We'll comment on this musically. Her touch is just like so delicate. Okay, so one thing to note, even though she's manipulating the tempo a lot, you don't lose the waltzy feel. If I played this straight, you get the waltzy like 1, 2, 3, you feel the dance, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. When you're playing with this sort of rubato, it feels like the dance becomes a little bit stuttery. But yet, the way that she's manipulating it, if you were to dance this, you don't feel like you're, oh, I'm falling. Oh, I have to lean the other way. And it takes a certain awareness of what you're doing with the tempo in order to push and pull that way, which is super cool. Also, we hear the top voice very, very clearly. That's one thing to note. There's zero mush. No other voice seems to come close to how clearly the top voice is ringing. Again, classic Watt keys. We're like 10 seconds in and I've already talked for like 5 minutes. The bottom. Right, this sort of syncopation where we're not on a strong beat, right? This strong beat in a group of 3, when it's 3/4 is the first beat, right? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And in general, the half between the beats is considered weak as well, right? So when you put emphasis on a note like da-dum, da-dum, ba-dum, right? Then it inherently adds a layer of syncopation. And you see the down up, this sort of wrist motion to create that playing, that feeling, that touch, weight. Go back to where she starts. Her rolls are really good, by the way. They're like very fast and very accurate. And if it's to compensate for like small hands, then this is really well done, which is quite possibly the case. Let me get something for this real quick. All right, we got the green folder so that my sheets don't collapse, and we back. Oh, dang. Okay, note how light the left hand is and how little pedal she's using, right? It's very dry. Until the bottom, right? The bottom. That's pedalized and connected. This is like relatively dry. Like, it sounds like she's pedaling by the measure, but then this run up. Dry, and it's literally that dryness that seems to create the pull and the tempo. Yeah. And then the drop. I'm spending too much time on these early sections, but it's just that good, and we still have a lot more to go. Why does she go like this, right? Why does she come off the key? Is because, again, of the down-up motion. So with a slur, right, when you're coming down, you're playing the first note with weight, and then the second note is with this sort of motion. You're using your wrist as a sort of fulcrum for a lever, and as it comes up, then it pushes the finger down. And so That's exactly what's going on there to give it a bit more articulation. There's the weight, right? As she draws this string together. Again, right? The middle voice in the left hand, carried by the thumb and the index. Ooh, that is really nice. She plays these very staccato. And that brings out this bottom note, like these notes here, right? What do you hear, right? But then you hear, it's a result of voicing as well, yes, but also because the articulation helps bring out that sort of voicing. And now that's very drawn together, and you right at the end, like the breath that's like released. It's a very romantic piece. You feel, right? Like, love, sorrow, what's that mean? What's that even mean? The sorrow of loving? There's like joy, but also profound sadness wrapped up in it. There's like these highs, like, and then there's a sigh, right? And then like the darker times, another sigh. And that's what these tempo pulls are doing, and this is what the diminuendos are doing as well. Ooh, and this is more motion, right? There's a lot to say, but we hear the top notes. Okay, that's the first phrase, right? And that's very, very light. Notice how the pedal never gets cluttered. How does she keep the pedal so clean? She's pedaling by the measure, but it's not becoming muddy. And the reason why that happens, how she's able to do it, is because she's voicing the top note very clearly. We're talking about layers, right? It is significantly, substantially above the second one, and it's articulated well. But everything else below is so incredibly light. It's like she's barely brushing the keys. Let's look a little bit more closely. Yeah, it's like almost like barely brushing the keys. And she's also not afraid to become louder at certain points. And then like with the C sharp, she comes on a little bit heavier with a little bit more articulation, right? Like almost like there's like a staccato on top of it, staccato over the slur. So all these notes, the top notes that are held and carried, she's accenting very slightly so that they ring out over the other ones and so that it doesn't muddy up the pedaling. But that's only the first layer of the musicality. Second layer, how does she play the stuff in between? We hear these sorts of like little melodies, these nuances that are going in between the voices. Like this voice, yeah, the top voice is doing his own thing, is singing and whatever. And then the middle voice is also singing something and saying something. And then the bottom one, boom, bum, bum, boom, bum, bum, still carrying that waltzy sort of feel, right? And its own sort of like build. Again, articulation, the attack on the note, the attack on the key makes it come up above everything else for a moment, or like come higher for a moment, and then lets it like settle back down. This gives me chills, dude. And again, you see some flat fingers coming through there to give that sort of like lighter feel, a delicate touch. Oh, the dynamic control is just so good. Ooh, sits on that E a little bit. Is a little bit heavier, right? But oh, interesting, she's still driving forward a lot with the tempo. And now this is heavy and like very pedalized, connected, glued together. And it get very light. Doesn't drop tempo there, interesting. Given the way she played the opening, I almost anticipate like a rubato, but she doesn't. She keeps driving it forward. And that's, again, to maintain this sort of like new, different feel, right? It recaps and develops a lot of the ideas from the thematic elements that are presented at the beginning, but with a stronger staccato feel. And there it is. There's a bit of a pull. And you see, you know, the up and down again. Oh, dang, her hands are moving so quickly. That was the most generic statement ever, but like, it's true. Being able to bounce like this and play that lightly. Ooh, you see that? Ah! Sorry, I'm like freaking out. She's almost putting like an accent on each and every one of these notes. Like, and you see that with the way that her hand like pushes into the keys and the way that her arms push into the keys too. And that creates such a contrasting element to everything else that she's done, because everything else that she's done up until this point is very light, like with the staccato feel, especially coming in from this last section, right? Right, okay. There's the slight pull and then like a push, right? It's like we're running into. This is the part where it feels like your heart's tearing open, right? Love, sorrow again. And the emotions just gush out, right? And it's like that climax of the piece. Interesting. Taking the middle voice a little bit heavier. Ooh, I love that roll was really good. Building the rubato into the roll. Dang. Ooh, that was really beautiful. Did you hear that? Okay. What's tricky about this part? Right, one, keeping the top note on top, but two, also making sure that the whole note that's on the bottom is held and that you can hear it all the way through. And three, then making sure that you don't get scrambled while you're trying to play this as fast as she's going. And you can also see, right, the down up. So the wrist coming up, it can also be used if you drive into the key to create extra articulation. All right, the crescendo, right? There's a slight pull, and then a big pull. It's like, again, just a feeling of like coming to a gradual stop. And then, ooh. What do you expect to hear here? I mean, your ear still kind of almost expects to hear like a bit of that opening theme. And Tiffany plays with this sort of suspense by pulling it out. Where does this rock, or I should say Kreisler, where does Kreisler go? Oh, we're in A major now. We moved from A minor to A major. Love is so profound, you know, and it's almost like captured in the way that this piece is written. But anyways, I'm getting a little bit too abstract and metaphorical for my own good. There is the lift, right? Very light. You feel the waltzy element a lot more now because she's playing much more steadily. And there, as I say that, the push. Remember, rubatos aren't just pulls, they can also be pushes. Ooh, the F's. That's so light. You hear the top note, but then you also hear the boom, 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 boom. And this is really gluey, right? She's pelling much heavier than before. Dang, let's listen to that ending again. I expected this section to be like lighter and like a little bit more detached, but instead, I think she maintains the same articulation just with the pedal over it, which gives it obviously a different texture. So, yeah, the articulation is very, very similar. You just pedal over it. Again, not a scrambled mess because the notes that are important are standing out. Very light. You see that? Like, you can't see her hands, but it looks like she kind of went like this and pulled out on the keys. So again, this is an application of weight up and down, right? You can go up and down, or direct the weight inwards at an angle, or pull out at an angle, right? And that's what she's doing. And letting the pedal ring it out. Also like how she detaches the pedal between the rests so that there's like almost like space for the next one to come out. Dang, there's just so much going on here, right? This down up motion Tiffany uses on like almost everything. It's really cool how versatile like these sorts of techniques are. I talk a lot about like, you know, building the toolbox so that you have a toolkit. but also mastering each and every single tool so that you're able to apply it to different situations and be able to do different things with it. Yeah, dang, this was really cool. This was really good. I feel like I really enjoyed this one. I honestly don't have words right now. Like, Tiffany Poon has blown me away. I'm definitely watching this again on my own right after this. Alright, and that about does it for this video. I had a whole lot of fun looking through this one because I really enjoy Tiffany's interpretation. But anyways, if you enjoyed this video, like, comment, subscribe to let me know that I should make more of these videos. If you would like to support the channel, you can do so now via Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. Links for those are down in the description. You can also support the channel by buying Watkey's merch. Link for that is in the description as well. And if you would like to hear me do more of this sort of analysis, you should click here. Or if you want to hear me play some and put my money where my mouth is, you should click here as well. But until next time, everybody, peace.